Before we dive into this video, I want to make one thing very clear. This is the first, last, and only video that I'm going to make talking about DKOldies. That being said, let's get into it. So refurbishing and using retro hardware like computers and game consoles is something that I have been extremely passionate about for a very long time. And I even would repair things like Xbox 360s when they were still fairly new back in the day, because I'd have people in my class who would get red-ringed Xboxes. I'd fix them for them, at least as best as I could, and I would charge to repair them. And then people would give me broken Xboxes and just not want them. I'd fix them, I'd sell them. That was just what I did. So I have a ton of experience tearing apart all kinds of things, reapplying thermal paste, cleaning hardware. I've even done things like making sure that the warranty stickers come off in a way that you can lay them back down and they look clean, so it looks like the console is still original. From applying thermal paste, replacing hard drives, recapping boards, you name it, I've probably done it, and it's something that I am extremely passionate about. In fact, I run an entire channel about my collection called The Chaotic Collector. You can check it out over there. But this is why the story about DKOldies came up in my feed, because it kind of began to blow up in the retro gaming community that this company that was selling original or just old hardware at a very high price was claiming to refurbish their consoles, and then people would buy them and discover that these were not actually refurbished consoles. Now, to be clear, I pretty much have the same opinion that a lot of YouTubers have expressed about the pricing of these consoles, which is that if the consoles are extremely high priced and a company wants to charge that much and somebody buys them, I have no problem with that, because the person who bought it clearly didn't do the research to see that these consoles can be had for way lower prices literally anywhere else. But the fact that these consoles are claimed to be refurbished and then they aren't means that even researching these, the person who doesn't know much about consoles will see that they're refurbished, air quotes refurbished, and say, oh, that's why they're higher, and then buy them. That's where I have a problem. Now, the original way I was going to approach kind of addressing the whole DKOldies thing was to make a video talking about how to properly refurbish an original Xbox. And unfortunately, during the filming of that video, I ran into some issues that I wasn't equipped to deal with here in my office. So I was not able to complete that video, and instead figured I would just make this video addressing it. But what I had done with that console is what I would expect a company to do if they're going to claim that the console they're selling is refurbished. In that video, I made sure that the case was as clean as possible, but unfortunately the chemical or whatever had spilled on the actual casing of the console would not come off or react with any of the chemicals I was using to clean it. So right then and there, I wasn't able to refurbish it to the quality that I would expect to see when claiming that a console was refurbished. But I went on anyway and popped it open to do other things that I would expect to be done if you're going to claim a console is refurbished. When I popped the console open, I dusted the whole thing out. I went as far as removing the fan, cleaning the fan off as thoroughly as possible to make sure there was no dust on it, dusting the entire inside, making sure there was no dust on the board, on the chassis, on the inside of anything. I also made sure that the screws were all tightened down in case they had come loose, because there are moving components in there, making sure the disk drive worked, and then the big stuff. The big stuff includes taking off the heat sinks of both the GPU and CPU and reapplying thermal paste, and then making sure that once you have them set, the thermal paste is spread evenly. But once I got into the board, this is where another issue arose that I was not equipped to handle. When I opened my Xbox, I discovered that the capacitors had actually swollen on the board, and I didn't have the equipment to go recapping the board for that video. And I don't even know how the console was functioning, because it looked like one of them had almost burst. But either way, once I saw that the capacitors were swollen, and I already knew that the case was not going to be able to be cleaned by any of the stuff that I had on hand, I knew that if I were to try to sell that console, I would have to sell it as is, cosmetically flawed, whatever you want to call it. There's no way on earth I could call it refurbished, even if I reapplied thermal paste to it and cleaned all the dust out. It just isn't refurbished, because it's not that high quality anymore because of the case and the capacitors. And just the capacitors alone, I'd have to call it as is. As is meaning that if somebody were to buy it, they're buying it as is, no warranty implied or suggested, and if it dies because the capacitors blow after I sell it, it's not my problem anymore. They knew what they were getting. Everything that I did except cleaning and capacitors is none of what DKOldies has done on any of the consoles that I have seen any of these other YouTubers get. Just hopping in here real quick, I don't know why I kept referring to Review Tech USA as Retro Review Tech. Probably because when I watch the videos, he says, hey, this is Rich from Review Tech USA, and my brain kept saying Retro Review Tech because I was talking about retro consoles, but anyway, just wanted to correct myself there because I say it a lot, so sorry. Rich from Retro Review Tech bought 2 or 3 different consoles. Every single one of them was dusty, dirty. The thermal paste hadn't been cleaned on the ones that required thermal paste. Same thing with Jacob R. And most recently, Austin Evans actually bought a bunch of consoles from DKOldies because, you know, you got that big YouTuber money. And the PS3 he got was rusted.
It's literally rusting! What the f?
Let me say that again. Austin Evans bought a PS3 that had rust on it. And that's not even talking about the dust, which a lot of the dust is like nicotine smoke dust and smoker's dust. And Jacob R had a smoker's dust filled console. It's just disgusting. And these consoles were not coming with their original controllers. They were coming with third-party ones, and the whole thing's just a mess. Now, I've bought my fair share of consoles that have been in bad shape. I have an original Atari 2600, and it's in awful shape. And it's going to take a while for me to get it back up into full and working order and get it into a condition that I would call refurbished. But that's the thing. These consoles are old, and there's so many things that could go wrong in the however many years have passed since they first hit the market or first got produced. So it's not unexpected for people to want to sell consoles that have mileage, wear, and tear on them. And honestly, even companies like GameStop, I would kind of expect that from their used consoles. But if you're going to claim refurbished, I would expect everything that I just listed to have been done. Thermal paste, fix the hard drive if there's a hard drive issue, fix the disk drive if there's a disk drive issue. Cleaning the dust out of it and not selling a rusty console, that it's so frustrating to see these videos because I did this stuff for years, refurbishing consoles to just make money through high school. And these companies are, oh my God, I could have charged so much more to refurbish these Xboxes if the work I was doing was that detailed. I really don't want to make a video to pile on to DKOldies. My intention is not to just make a video to pile on the hate train. I did so much research before this video even made it onto a script because I didn't want to just pile on and then have it come out later that, oh, well, no, these YouTubers are making all this up and blah, blah, blah. Of course, I don't think that was the case from the start because after 2 to 3 consoles rolled in that condition, what would be the point of trying to fake something like that? But after I saw big YouTubers like TechRex and Austin Evans getting consoles that were in the same condition as these other YouTubers I've been seeing, not to say that Rich from Retro Review Tech isn't a big channel, but like Austin Evans is a huge tech channel. And the fact that that was what he got as well disgusts me. I don't know how passionate you all who are watching this are about retro consoles or retro gaming or retro hardware. But for me, I take pride in the work that I've done for folks who want consoles and want computers to be in good shape, no matter how old the consoles are. And I kind of use my collection as an example of what these things can still look like 10, 20, 30 years on from when they were originally released. And the whole idea behind retro console gaming nowadays is that you want to relive the nostalgia and you don't want to emulate that experience. I totally get that. And the idea of retro console gaming for me has always been appealing to the point where my television stand is an RCA Color Tracks console monitor. That's how much I love retro console gaming, is that I still have a CRT in my house in 2023. And so to see a company that is, for all intents and purposes, preying on nostalgia, not even that old of nostalgia. People still have original PlayStation 3s and later revision Xboxes, and they still use them regularly. My sister only recently got rid of her Xbox 360. So to see a company preying on nostalgia or preying on people who want to relive the memories of those older consoles and not actually doing what they say they're doing is so infuriating to me. I know I've said it a few times during this video, but like if you are somebody who is looking for an old console, or maybe you actually want to buy an old console and refurbish it yourself, the big things to do are open it up, dust it out. Maybe if you can, recap it if it needs it, or if you're not able to do that, maybe reach out and see if there's somebody who can, or if there's a community willing to kind of instruct you or help you on how to do it. Make sure the hard drive works, make sure the fans work, make sure everything's screwed in place. Don't buy one that has a bullshit warranty sticker on it that means absolutely nothing, and get an original controller. When it comes to buying retro consoles, some of the best places to look are usually places that not a lot of people think of in the digital age, which are usually local shops. I have a place near where I live called Cartridges Galore. They are fantastic at making sure that every console works. They have consoles that I've never even seen out in the wild, and they make sure that they are fully functional and that they are fully cleaned before putting them on the shelves. They had an Atari Jaguar that they were charging $600 for because of how rare it is, but it was fully functional with all of its accessories, and it looked as good as the day it came out of the box. A local store. And they sell original Xboxes for what I would expect to pay for an original Xbox, between $50 to $80, maybe $100, depending on the quality, and if it's in its box, maybe $200. Local stores, especially after the pandemic, are literally dying for you to go and give them your business. Please, if you're looking for one of these older consoles, look local first. And if you can't do that, then eBay's probably a better bet than anything, because you have the protection of eBay's refund policy, and you also can directly contact the seller if the seller's not a total dick. Yeah, DKOldies has a 1-year warranty with their hardware, and that probably means that if one of the non-refurbished problems happens to actually cause your console to stop functioning, they can replace it for you. But on that same hand, they're also betting that you're not going to open the console to see that whatever might cause it to die is a problem to begin with, because they put a warranty sticker on it, which is its own issue. I'm telling you all of this, my experiences with refurbishing and repairing consoles, what I was originally trying to do with the original Xbox and why I couldn't consider it refurbished, and telling you to go buy local or look on eBay instead, because I'm also telling you, don't buy from DKOldies. Just don't. I feel like at this point, I don't even have to buy one of those consoles, because looking around, you can very clearly see from everybody else who did spend the money to buy a console from them that they're not refurbishing their hardware. And there are so many communities out there who are passionate like I am about refurbishing consoles, refurbishing old hardware, and they're willing to share their knowledge with you if you need to restore, refurbish, repair, whatever, all of these older consoles that you might be nostalgic for. Go check them out after going and checking out local places that are dying for your business, who probably put more care into these consoles than DKOldies ever would, and do your research. Look around, see what these consoles normally go for, see what people are willing to pay for a range of different qualities, from brand new in box sealed all the way to my smoker's uncle had it and threw it out the window 4 times. Just look at the prices and see what people are paying for them and make your decision then. And I guarantee you, if you look at those and see that a sealed example is only $200 more than the DKOldies is selling, you're probably going to avoid DKOldies, which you should do anyway. That's my video. That's my thoughts on DKOldies. Like I said at the start of the video, this is my first, last, and only video addressing DKOldies and what's been going on, because I don't like to dive into controversy, but I'm also extremely passionate about old consoles and old computers and refurbishing them and bringing them up to a quality that I would consider acceptable if you're going to call them refurbished. Either way, that's been it. Let me know what you all think about this whole thing down in the comments below. I'll be there for a little while after the video goes live, so hey, I might interact with you if you've got something interesting to say. Aside from that, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like. If you really like this video and want to see things not quite like this, but, you know, videos about technology, maybe subscribe. It's always fun here. And aside from that, I will see you all in the next video. Make sure to be there and have a good one.